Not sure if my sister knows any geography, but Alaska. Today, I'm going to recap a 1993 crime thriller film called 3 Days of a Blind Girl. Following an eye surgery, Mrs. Singh is informed she will be temporarily without sight, and her eyes will need 3 days to completely heal. Luckily for her, she's wedded to the renowned surgeon, Chau-Sang, which enables them to employ a housemaid. May is tasked with household duties and finds moments to romantically engage with her police officer friend, who has secured tickets to watch a renowned vocalist perform live. She agrees to accompany him but requests a service in return. She requires him to process Jack's film roll because she overlooked doing it and wants to avoid conflict with her employer. Mrs. Singh's first day of impaired vision is quite pleasant. She and Jack find joy in the situation, playfully jesting with each other. However, due to a medical seminar in Macau, Jack cannot be present throughout her healing phase. On his departure, he mistakenly carries Mrs. Singh's mobile as his is not charged, leaving it carelessly on the sofa. Shortly after, May also departs to procure her asthma medication, pledging to return promptly. Left on her own, Mrs. Singh chooses to relax outdoors, savoring the cool breeze and the company of her canine companion. The dog nearly escapes, but is retrieved by an individual named Sam, who promptly secures the dog. He's an old schoolmate of Jack and was once a patient, having had his wife operated on by Jack. Mrs. Singh offers hospitality with a beverage, but post assisting her indoors, Sam chooses to depart. Mrs. Singh drifts off on the couch, only to be awakened by the tumult of a storm. May's absence becomes a concern, yet it's Sam who reappears, stating the storm hindered him from hiring a cab. Trustingly, Mrs. Singh offers him shelter, a meal, and some of Jack's attire for comfort. In the couple's bedroom, Jack indulgently relishes a ripe banana atop the bed, feeling utterly royal. Later, the two, Mrs. Singh and Sam, engage in conversation in the lounge. Sam reveals his occupation at a press and his affection for his spouse. Initially, he speaks fondly of her, but soon his tone shifts to frustration about her reluctance to his touch due to ink-stained fingers. Catching himself mid-rant, he expresses regret and departs as the storm subsides. Attempting to resume her normal activities, Mrs. Singh is plagued by a sensation of being stalked. Mrs. Singh attempts to disregard the unsettling feeling and opts for a shower, unaware that her intuition was correct. Sam is inside her home and has joined her in the shower. He remains silent, letting his hands drift close to Mrs. Singh without making contact, engaging in a twisted game of control. His restraint falters, leading him to splash water on her, which alarms Mrs. Singh. Escaping from the bathroom, Sam deceives her by pretending to have come from outside, staging a fight with the intruder and claiming to have driven him away. Subsequently, Sam administers a sedative in Mrs. Singh's milk to soothe her, then steps outside, pretending to search for the trespasser. Once he's gone, Mrs. Singh locks the door and attempts to make a call using the bedside telephone, but finds it sabotaged. As the sedative takes effect, she succumbs to sleep. The following day, Mrs. Singh rouses to discover Sam casually eating near her bed. He drags her to the dining area where he's prepared breakfast. She insists on involving the police, so, to placate her, Sam feigns a call to the authorities. However, Mrs. Singh, having tried the phone previously, recognizes the deceit and discerns Sam's malevolence. She warns him of Jack's imminent return, but Sam, having orchestrated this encounter for a year, is aware of Jack's absence. Moreover, he reveals he's abducted May, keeping her captive in his vehicle. Frantic, Mrs. Singh seeks an escape, but discovers all exits sealed. Meanwhile, Sam, agitated from a rat bite, decides to indulge in Jack's luxury cigarettes, compelling Mrs. Singh to tidy the ensuing mess. As she complies, Sam approaches, mockingly probing about her most intimate thoughts, questioning her fidelity to Jack. Eventually, his advances escalate, leading Mrs. Singh to grab a fire poker in self-defense. Yet Sam overpowers her, biting her neck in retribution. Later, Sam prepares a meal and forces Mrs. Singh to eat. Her distress intensifies when he chillingly admits to using her dog as the main ingredient. Despite her revulsion, he mandates she finish the meal as she weeps inconsolably. While engrossed in home videos, Sam remains unaware as Mrs. Ng, overwhelmed, rushes to the bathroom to vomit. In her desolation, she tries calling for assistance, but when her cries go unheard, her anguish manifests in a wave of destruction within the bathroom. Regaining her composure, Mrs. Ng heads back to her bedroom. There, Sam casually engages her in conversation, acting as though their interactions were commonplace. He delves into more details about his wife, revealing a deeper reason for her reluctance to his touch, an affair with another man rather than the previously mentioned ink-stained fingers. Subsequently, Sam coerces Mrs. Ng into pampering him as he relaxes in front of the TV. This diversion affords her time to devise an escape strategy. Feeling an asthma crisis, she alludes to May's medication, prompting Sam to retrieve it. To his dismay, the medication bottle is empty as he had prevented May from completing her errand. Resolved to prolong Mrs. Ng's captivity, Sam agrees to fetch the medicine, but first confines her to a closet. Quick thinking, Mrs. Ng manages to keep part of her dress caught in the door, which aids her escape once Sam departs. Her initial relief is short-lived. The house keys have been tampered with and rendered useless. Then she spots Jack's forgotten phone on the sofa, but it's depleted of power. Distraught, she recalls the charger in her bedroom and dashes for it. However, her urgency is met with a startling interruption. Sam returns, causing her to trip and tumble. With no time to make it to the room and wanting to keep her intentions hidden from Sam, Mrs. Ng swiftly conceals the battery by tucking it between her legs. When Sam discovers Mrs. Ng, he is oblivious to the hidden battery. He escorts her to her room, administers her medication, and insists that she rest. Seizing this opportunity, Mrs. Ng discreetly places the battery on the charger as soon as Sam leaves. In a later confrontation that evening, Sam, having realized that the medication is actually May's, berates Mrs. Ng. In a twisted form of retribution, he reveals a dark secret. Jack, her esteemed doctor husband, was the individual with whom his late wife had an affair. Sam had been silent about this revelation for 2 years, harboring hope for his ailing wife's recovery. However, her eventual demise from a heart attack, a testament to Jack's perceived medical incompetence, fuels Sam's vendetta. He seeks to inflict on Mrs. Ng the anguish analogous to his own endured torment. Skeptical and incredulous, Mrs. Ng rejects Sam's revelations. Unfazed, he assures her that Jack's impending return will unveil the unsavory truth, before retreating outdoors for a smoke. In the interim, an intruder infiltrates the household, encountering Mrs. Ng in her compromised state. She brandishes an umbrella in defense, but the thief, dismissive of her warnings about Sam, subdues and binds her, suspecting her claims are merely attempts at intimidation. The burglar momentarily diverts his attention, scoring the residence for valuables. Upon his return, his sinister intentions towards Mrs. Ng are thwarted by her defiant bite. The subsequent retreat results in a collision with Sam, igniting a violent confrontation, where the thief endures both a physical beating and the searing pain of a cigarette burn, administered with malevolent precision by Sam. Following his assault on the intruder, Sam silences him by inserting a banana into his mouth and then further torments him using scissors in a particularly cruel manner focused on the man's lower region. As the thief loses consciousness, the doorbell rings, revealing the policeman who had intended to accompany May to the concert. Masquerading as Jack, Sam informs the officer that May is absent, arousing his suspicion. Upon forcing entry, the cop requests refreshment. As Sam retreats to the kitchen, the policeman ventures upstairs. Opening the door to the primary bedroom, he discovers a figure under the covers. Sam quickly intercedes, serving the drink and asserting that the resting individual is an ailing Mrs. Ng, though it's actually the subdued thief. Furthermore, Sam has craftily superimposed his own face over Jack's in a wedding photograph to solidify his deception. Concurrently, Mrs. Ng, confined in a closet by Sam, manages to slowly force the doors open. Restrained, she painstakingly descends to the kitchen, liberating herself with a utensil. Fleeing through the back exit, her vision begins to improve. Spotting a faint light on the road, she approaches, pleading for assistance. She's greeted by a distinctly feminine voice. However, as she feels a female hand, her relief is short-lived, it's Sam using May's hand as a puppet, and he swiftly drags Mrs. Chen back into the house. The officer, recalling forgotten photographs, reviews them, leading him to realize the discrepancy in Jack's appearance. Racing back, weapon drawn, he proceeds with caution through the house, ultimately locating Mrs. Chen in the bathroom. Pledging to aid her escape, his guard drops, and Sam seizes this moment of distraction to fatally wound him. Subsequently, Sam moves Mrs. Chen to the couch with indecent intentions, inadvertently placing the policeman's firearm within her reach. As she feigns compliance, Mrs. Chen discreetly attempts to grab the weapon. However, this is disrupted by Jack's unexpected arrival. Mistaking the scene as infidelity, he angrily confronts both. This diversion allows Sam to retrieve the gun, shooting Jack in the leg and coercing a confession regarding his affair with Sam's deceased wife. As Sam assaults Jack, Mrs. Ng's vision progressively sharpens. Although blurred, it assists her in locating and wielding a fire poker against Sam. However, her efforts prove insufficient, and Sam retaliates by seizing the poker and intensifying his attack on Jack. Mrs. Ng capitalizes on Sam's ignorance of her improving sight and strategically positions household items to thwart him. As part of her stratagem, she scatters thumbtacks on the floor. When Sam inadvertently steps on them, Mrs. Ng ambushes him, utilizing an aerosol spray with a lighter to scorch his face. This makeshift flamethrower's effectiveness is brief, compelling Mrs. Ng to retreat to the kitchen. There, she blinds Sam temporarily with powder before striking him using a frozen food item. Sam's efforts to fend her off with the fire poker falter due to his impaired vision. Resorting to desperation, he endeavors to ignite the stove to drive Mrs. Ng out. In retaliation, she plunges a pencil into him and flees. Upon reaching the living room, her vision fully returns. She feigns blindness to deceive Sam, subsequently shattering a vase on his unsuspecting head. Retreating to the kitchen, Mrs. Ng places beer cans in the microwave, activating it and taking cover. The resultant explosion incapacitates Sam. Emerging from her hiding spot, Mrs. Ng assumes safety, only for a revived Sam to launch another assault. In self-defense, she impales Sam with the fire poker. Later, in the living room, she encounters Jack, who pleads for forgiveness. As she approaches, her shock is palpable. The figure she assumed was Jack was actually Sam mimicking him. Enraged, Mrs. Ng unleashes her fury on Sam, relentlessly striking him with the fire poker until he's lifeless. Weeks later, Mrs. Ng has transitioned to urban independence. In a symbolic moment of asserting herself, when a man attempts to hijack her hailed cab, she firmly pushes him aside, admonishing that women aren't meek targets for bullying. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.